Hey there, we're Mike and Heather, and this is our van Appa, a 2013 Ford Transit Connect that we've turned into a micro camper van. We've spent the last 2 years traveling out of it and have visited 49 of the 50 states from this van. We wanted to share with you some of our favorite road trips that we went on along the way.
The first one on the list is the first major road trip that we went on in our van, and that is Route 1. It is the longest north to south running road in the United States, and it starts at Fort Kent, Maine, and you go all the way down to the Florida Keys.
This is a road trip that is on the East Coast, which was a little bit of a rarity. It seemed like there wasn't much on this side of the country, but we found this one, and it goes through 14 states from the top of the country all the way to the bottom, and it runs about 2,370 miles. So it was a nice long one. It took us a little under 2 weeks to complete, and it was one of our favorite road trips that we've been on.
And you could definitely spend longer than 2 weeks. You're going to be going through some major cities like New York City, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Miami. So you're really going to hit it all and can really customize and tailor that road trip to hit a lot of bucket list items like trying lobster in Maine and swimming with sharks down in Florida, if that's on your bucket list. It wasn't on mine, but it was on his. The Florida Keys road trip itself is world famous, and for that to be the ending of that really amazing road trip was just the cherry on top.
It had a great start right on the border of Canada, and definitely one of the best finishes of all of the road trips on this list.
To be standing in the Florida Keys at the end Route 1 sign and to know that we traveled this all the way from Maine was a truly memorable experience, and definitely a road trip that I suggest everybody put on their bucket list. You won't be disappointed. And it's one that not many people know about, so it feels like a hidden gem of road trips. There's a really helpful Route 1 website that has a lot of great stopping points along the way that we'll put in the description below, but definitely recommend, if Route 1 is on your bucket list, to check out that website for some amazing road trip stopping points.
Sticking on the East Coast, we found another road trip that was smaller in scale, but definitely packed a lot in terms of views and exciting things to do, and that is the Vermont Route 100. Route 100 is also known as Vermont's Main Street. We were able to go in the fall, and it was some of the best fall colors that we've ever seen anywhere in the country. Although the road is only 146 miles, it took us a couple of days to do because you really do want to slow roll it through the different towns and beautiful foliage and different environments that you go through. We went through the mountains and the forests and by beautiful lakes, so it's one that you don't want to rush. Take a weekend in the fall and definitely check out Route 100 in Vermont. There's a lot of places to stop for beautiful views, excellent food, and even some really cool hiking experiences along the way.
Moving on to the West Coast, the Pacific Coast Highway, or Highway 1, has to be on your bucket list. It's one of the most iconic drives that you can do in the United States, and for good reason, because it is absolutely beautiful to travel up California's coastline and then some.
We weren't entirely sure where the road officially started, but we started a drive along the coast down in San Diego, California, and followed it all the way up to Washington, where we stopped in Seattle. It was absolutely stunning, and there were so many great things to see along the coastline.
Similar to Route 1 on the East Coast, Highway 1, you go through a lot of different cities and rural areas, and you really get a feel for what the entire West Coast has to offer.
This one was a bit of a longer one. It was 1,650 miles along the coast from the bottom of California all the way up to the top of Washington. It absolutely has to be on your bucket list because there are so many incredible things to see, from the rocky coastlines at Big Sur and the amazing bridge that you get to drive over, all the way up to rainforests in the United States when you're in Washington. There was so much to see and do, and it really was a great road trip. One of the things that we can't recommend enough is the Guide Along app. There is one on Route 1 for the journey from Miami down to the Florida Keys, and in California along Big Sur there's a tour as well. They really enhance the trip because you get some history, you get all of the spots that you should be stopping at and learning about, and on top of that, it helps keep you on track. So for Route 100, the Florida Keys Oversea Highway, and Big Sur, definitely recommend getting the Guide Along app for those just to enhance the experience. This next one is one that feels like a real accomplishment once you finish it, and that's the Alaska Highway. We drove into Canada to get to the start of the Alaska Highway, and once it began, it was undoubtedly one of the most beautiful drives we've ever been on. You travel 1,387 miles from Dawson Creek in British Columbia all the way up to Delta Junction in Alaska, and that drive is nothing short of incredible.
You're driving this to get to Alaska, but you can make a road trip out of it, and we highly suggest you do. There are other ways to getting to Alaska, like flying in, or if you're still wanting your vehicle, taking a ferry in, but the Alaska Highway is something unlike anything we've ever seen. There's a lot of great hiking spots, there's hot springs, There's famous cinnamon rolls. There's a place where you can be amongst the thousands of other people who have also traveled the Alaska Highway, where you get to leave your mark on it and leave your sign in the signpost for us. After going on an epic road trip through the Canadian wilderness, through the Yukon, you find yourself in Alaska, which means that your adventure is just starting. So it was the best feeling being able to finish the Alaska Highway and knowing that that wasn't the end of it, it was only beginning.
Our final and favorite road trip from this list is Route 66.
If you couldn't tell.
The Mother Road. So this leaves from Chicago, Illinois and goes all the way across the country to the Santa Monica Pier in LA County in California, traveling 2,448 miles across the United States through some of the most amazing towns and beautiful scenery that we've ever seen.
When you think of road tripping through the United States, Route 66 should come to mind. It is the quintessential USA road trip and should be on everybody's bucket list. Although its peak popularity is far gone, that just adds to the charm of Route 66. It's like a time capsule. The further and further you go down the road, the more nostalgia hits in, and it feels like you are on a road trip.
Of all of the drives we've done, this one felt the most personal. The people along Route 66 all have stories and history there, and interacting with them was absolutely amazing, and the conversations we had were some of the highlights of the entire trip. We were fortunate enough to be able to drive the entire length of historic Route 66, and were able to do it in just about 2 weeks. If you have the time, taking even more would be great. Trading it like a Sunday drive where you just travel for about a month down Route 66 would probably be ideal, but not everyone has the time for that. So whatever you can get out onto it, there's something to see for everyone.
The cool thing about Route 66, and the whole reason why the road was invented, was to connect the East Coast to the West Coast. So you got to see a wide variety of states in between there, and every state that you went into had something new and quirky to offer, and it really felt like you were on a true adventure. Seeing some of the iconic structures like the Blue Whale or the Grand Canyon, it really is just a picture-perfect road trip, and to see everything in person that you've only seen in the movies or in magazines or online is just really amazing.
Route 66 definitely lives up to the hype and has a perfect ending at the Santa Monica Pier, where you can go put your feet in the ocean the same way travelers back through history have done it when they reach the end of the Route 66 road.
There is a little passport, it's called the Route 66 passport, that you can pick up that only enhances your experience. It feels like a little game or accomplishment every time you get a stamp, and although we only got the last stamp, it still makes for a very fun road trip activity to keep you engaged and stopping at some of these quirky spots that you may not have thought about. There's also the Route 66 navigational app that we use to keep us on historic Route 66, because we were determined to drive Route 66 proper the entire way into California.
There's also a bunch of other books that just talk about the history of it, as well as some sites. We'll link those in the description below because they were so helpful for planning our days. There's never been a better time to go. There's a lot of revitalization happening along Route 66 in all sorts of different areas along the road, so definitely check it out. It's a ton of fun, and I guarantee you'll find something along the way that just is perfect for you and connects you to that road forever, and you'll be telling people about it and telling people to drive it as well. Completing road trips as we were traveling across the country was one of our favorite things to do, and they just added to the experience because we got to go from the start of something to the end as part of our journey, and it just enhanced our time in the van. If you want to learn more about those road trips, we have some videos covering different aspects of them, especially for Route 1 and Route 66, but we also vlogged our experiences along Route 100, the Pacific Coast Highway, and the Alaska Highway, so make sure to check those out. If you have any questions, or if there's some road trips that we should be on the lookout for, make sure to leave those in the comments below.
There's some really great road trips that we know we missed, like the Blue Ridge Parkway. There's even like an extraterrestrial highway in Nevada, I believe,
yep,
and a Bigfoot highway in California. So we know there's some hidden gems of road trips out there, and we would love to hear about which ones that we should travel down next. Thank you all for watching. We really do appreciate it and hope that you have a fantastic time on whatever road trip that you choose next.
I'm living my